Hello everyone, so it's been a week and a half since the Sunshine Coast Marathon and I wanted to do a little bit of a race recap. Everything that happened from the moment I woke up that morning to the moment I went to sleep, and even how I'm feeling 10 days later after the race. So let's go back to first thing in the morning. I woke up at 3:15 a.m. That's when the alarm was set for. I did stay in bed a little bit longer until about 3:30 and then figured, all right, time to get some things done, get up and get going. So ideally before a race, it's good to get up about 2 to 3 hours before. I was probably on more the extreme side just because I wanted to get a little bit of filming done. Wanted to make sure I had my breakfast, got everything ready, went to the bathroom, which is also extremely important. I don't need to go into details with that one, but everything there went very good. But for breakfast, I had the standard oats, banana, cinnamon, honey, and some Bix Performance Fuel as well. Just one scoop that I sipped on until we got to the start line. Once we'd finished up at the Airbnb, we decided to head towards the event, try to get there a little bit earlier, just because we know it's always gonna be packed. So finding a park is always a little bit tricky. So it's good to account for a little bit of extra time there. So we left at about 4:45 a.m. and managed to get there at about 5 to 5:15, and then took about 15 to 20 minutes to walk to the event. I started to, warm up a little bit, do a couple 100-meter runs, a little bit of dynamic stretching. Saw Jacob very briefly. He was also stretching and warming up as well. And about 20 minutes out from the start, I took my jumper off and went, oh, this is not good. So I forgot my bib. Look, if I wasn't already nervous and anxious, which I absolutely was, this just added a whole nother level on top of that. Thankfully, I didn't leave it at the Airbnb. I left it on the dash of the car. The issue with that is it was still about a K away. So poor Tash, my partner, had to run back to grab it and then run back to put it on me. And I felt terrible because she was also racing the half marathon that day about an hour after I started. And yeah, it just wasn't ideal. So the lesson started before I even took off running. Next time, definitely going to pin my bib to my race day shirt or singlet the night before, so this doesn't occur. But yeah, so grateful for Tash for going back and grabbing it, and then managed to pop it on. A couple of the waves have already started rolling out by this point, so I ended up starting at the back of the 4:15 pack, which I wasn't too phased about because I didn't really know what time I was going for, and I was just happy to start whenever. I was just happy to get the bib, to be honest. I don't know what would have happened if I couldn't grab it, if you could grab a spare one from the expo if it was open, or I don't know. Thankfully, I didn't have to go down that route. So after the bib was on, I said my goodbyes to Tash and Georgia, who was also around the 10K there. Yeah, decided to set off, and I put my earphones in. I put them on a low volume just because for the first half of the race, I really wanted to soak up the atmosphere. But I didn't want to go through the trouble of mid-run, halfway through, pulling out the earphones and then going on your phone and trying to find your playlist. It just all seemed like a little bit too much of a drama. So had the earphones in, hoped that they would last the whole time. They didn't, but it's okay. Wasn't too phased. In terms of strategy for the race, I didn't really have a super clear one coming in. My main objective was to run based on feel, be a little bit more conservative at the start and see if I could continue to pick the pace up over time. And that is called a negative split. That was probably the most ideal way to run it because, you hear all these horror stories about people in their first marathon and even very experienced runners. Sometimes it just happens and you can't help it. But especially the people that it is their first marathon, they, feel so pumped up at the start. It's the adrenaline. It's saying they feel a million times better than what they actually do. They go out at a pace that's way too quick. And then what happens is they end up bonking somewhere in the race. And that was my main thing I didn't want to happen. I just wanted to try to run within myself, but obviously still put in a really good effort. So the course profile was mainly flat. There was only 2 hills to really worry about, and that was at the start of the race, literally at the first K, and then at the 5th or 6th K, coming back up that same hill. And in my mind, I said to myself to just be conservative through that point, which was around that 5:50 to 6 minute pace. I managed to keep that through those hills. So coming out past the 6K mark was, around that 5:50 to 5:35. Very, very comfortable. Didn't feel wrecked after the hills, which was great. And then from there, I decided to slowly start creeping into the 520s. So low 530s, 520s, and then until we got to about K15. The weather was beautiful, by the way. It was like 6 degrees when we started, and then an hour to an hour and a half in, it was still only like 11 degrees. So absolutely perfect. The course was quite shaded as well, which definitely helped in terms of how much energy I was able to put out whilst running. At that 15K mark, I knew that I could get after it a little bit if I wanted to. I was still feeling really good at that 15K mark, which you probably should feel quite good at that 15K mark. So I decided for the next 16 to 17K, which would then take me to 32K, I would try to sit around that 5:20 to 5:15 pace, which I managed to do pretty well, to be honest. I was shocked whilst running. I was like, why does this feel so good? When am I gonna blow up? Something is gonna happen, right? But lo and behold, it didn't. And yeah, I got to 26K and I was still feeling pretty good. So I decided maybe I can go a little bit quicker, but still not stupid fast. So I dropped it again. So 5:15 to 5:10 to 5:05-ish. And yeah, up until this point, I had been hitting the water at every aid station. I also took like a 200 ml flask with me of water as well, just if I wanted like a little sip to quench the thirst. In between aid stations, I was hitting a gel every 30 to 35 minutes. So religiously at the 30-minute mark, I was opening it up and then making sure to not like down it all in once, because sometimes that does upset my stomach, and just really sipping on it and then making sure at the 35-minute mark, that's when I have my last bit of that gel. So yeah, it's just a nice period of time that you've had it over, and it disperses the energy a little bit better. Got to that 32K mark, and that's when it was time to whip out the caffeine gel, and this was actually a game changer. I haven't done too much caffeine gels in my training, only I think once before, and it went quite well. So I figured I'm just gonna try again for the race. My idea was at that 32 to 34K mark, because that's when there's only like 10 to 8Ks left. Hopefully that will just give me that energy to last that last 40 minutes to an hour. And it did. It hit me like a truck almost instantly, which is exactly what I needed, because I was starting to feel a little bit fatigued, as you would being that far into the race. And at that point, that was also like the longest I had ever run before. So I knew I needed a little bit of a pick-me-up. I took an extra gel as well, just in case I dropped one. My masseuse that I have been seeing said that's just something that not many people think about. And to be honest, it's something that I wouldn't have thought about as well. So very thankful for him for letting me know that little inside tip. Good thing is I didn't drop one, but I did actually end up having that spare gel at, I think, 37K mark, just to get a little bit more calories in and last little bit of energy as well. But yeah, from that point on, I managed to stay comfortably from that 5:10 to 5 minute pace, all the way through to 40K, where I even managed to drop into the fours, like the 4:58 going into 4:50. And yeah, like I said before, I can't believe that that happened. I'm so used to races being so grueling and so tough. Even the 5K I did in like March, 5 kilometers, was so flippin' difficult. But I guess that's because I was running like really like at threshold pace, and that 5K distance it's hectic. I guess I can also put it down to being quite good with the training. My training plan that I was following, Ben Parks, shout out if anyone is looking for a training plan. It's literally like 7 to 15 AUD. So cheap and really well thought out, easy to follow. So I would highly recommend checking that out. And yeah, it felt like all the hard work was done in training, and then when it came to the race, that's where I got to really enjoy my moment. I'm sure not all marathons that I do in the future are going to be like that, especially when I start pushing really hard. That's where things the wheels start to fall off. But that's okay as well. That's also a massive learning experience that you can take into the next race if something like that does happen. Very special for the last K, Jacob, who had just run his marathon. He got a 3 hours and 2 minute time, which is very amazing. Simply put, that's like my goal of like, geez, I don't know, 5 years time. I can't even think of running at that pace. That's like my 5K pace right now. But yeah, at that 1K mark, he actually filmed me for a little bit. He ran alongside me, and that was really special. I wasn't expecting that. Gave me that last little bit of boost that I needed to get to that finish line. And yeah, just soaking up that environment, all the people cheering. It's really special, and it's an awesome experience that I hope all of you guys get to enjoy at some point in your life. Crossing the finish line felt amazing. It was a mixture of relief, confusion, and exhaustion, I guess. Relief just because I've been wanting to do something like this for so long, and just finally doing it feels a little bit surreal, takes you back a little bit. Exhaustion, obviously, because I was just knackered from the distance. It takes a lot out of you. It's a distance where you definitely need to prepare for. If you don't, you will get wrecked. I don't know, you'll probably just, yeah, you just need to put the hours in, put the training in, but that's also part of the fun. And confused because I wasn't expecting it to go as well as it did. It was just one of those days where everything goes really well. I think nutrition played a big part, the carb loading played a big part, and yeah, I couldn't have hoped for a better race. As I finished, I skipped the little line where you grab your banana and your Cliff Bar because it was so long. It looked like it was going to take 15 to 20 minutes just to get through that line. I went around the side, grabbed my medal, caught up with Tash, who did really well at her half marathon as well. I gave her a hug, and someone stopped me just after I'd caught up with Tash, and they were like, "Oh, I've been watching your videos. How'd you go?" And I let them know. I was like, yeah, really good. And if you're watching this, I'm actually really sorry that I didn't ask you how you went back. Please drop your information in the comments, your Strava. I'd love to follow your journey. Let me know how you did in the race at the Sunshine Coast. And yeah, I apologize. I was just confused from finishing the race, a little bit delusional, shocked that one of my 41 subscribers, where most of them are friends and family, managed to recognize me mid-race. And yeah, that really that surprised me, and it boosted my mood as well afterwards. If I wasn't already on a high, went back and told the family about that. And yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thanks for watching, and once again, hope you did well. Drop how you went down in the comments. Once the race was all completed, went and had some lunch, got some grilled, had a beer, and yeah, drove home to the Gold Coast, which took about 3 hours. Not really ideal after running a marathon to be cooped up in a car for 3 hours, but I actually didn't feel too bad, surprisingly. I could still walk, which is a perfect sign. I remember the Perth half marathon that I did last year. I was cooked. My knee pain was just off chops. I went straight back to work the next day, and work in a warehouse, so quite physical. I think that actually helped a fair bit with recovery as well. Just moving around and continuing lifting, bending. It definitely was a little bit tender, especially going downstairs, but nothing that I couldn't handle, which I was extremely grateful for. And yeah, now it's been about a week and a half since the race. I got a little bit sick, my body was a little bit run down, trying to recover. And yeah, I just tried to enjoy it and enjoy my rest, enjoy eating kind of whatever I wanted in that week after the race. But after that week had passed, started to get a little bit, agitated again, wanted to, really get back into it. And I guess the question is, what now? And that's a good question. I'm definitely a very goal-orientated person, so I need something to continue chasing just to keep me disciplined. And I don't know, I feel like when I've got a goal, especially a health goal, everything else just kind of falls into place in my life. So yeah, now I'm just trying to rebuild my fitness, get back into the gym, because I feel like a little bit of a string bean. I feel like I've lost so much mass and definition, but that's going to happen when you're running quite long distances and not going to the gym. So also would like to try to, just get back to running base levels, so a lot of zone 2 running. There's no point really delving straight into another prep or training block, because we're going on holidays in 3 weeks, 4 or 5 weeks, and running or gymming is not necessarily going to be the priority of our holiday. It's going to be like sightseeing, eating great food, doing experiences, enjoying the culture. So once we get back from that holiday, that's when I can start to look at what's next on the horizon. And I don't know, could be another marathon, could be an ultra, which I've been hoping to do. I'm not too sure if I should delve into the 50k, the 80k, 100k, see how we're feeling. Maybe even a high rocks. Gonna keep my options open. But yeah, definitely gonna have something to come back to get back into the swing of things. But thank you everyone for watching and following along. If you've been watching since the start of the channel, the start of the Sunshine Coast Marathon series, whether you watched the Sunshine Coast Marathon race or whether this is your first video that you're seeing of me, thank you very much. Subscribe if you aren't already, and I will see you very, very soon.